July 12th and 10 a.m. in the rose garden, and the sun actually is just out for the first time this morning. It was a bit cool earlier, and today we're going to take a look at the roses. I think I'm going to put some more fish fertilizer on everybody, and I'll use it full strength this time. I think I have enough, and I'm also going to take a look at the planting of some of the roses that I replanted, because I think I may have put the graft union a bit too high. So I'm worried that I might have to maybe replant some of the roses that I recently relocated. And I want to take you through how everybody's doing. And then I'm thinking about actually making something with all the lavender that I cut last week, because I have a whole bunch of lavender in my garage. So I was thinking about, is there a craft or something that I could do with the lavender? And so we might make a lavender wreath. I don't know about Baxter, if Baxter thinks that's a good idea. Baxter, do you want to make a lavender wreath? Baxter, do you want to make a lavender wreath? Baxter's not so sure. Okay. So starting down at the east end of the rose garden, we've got, so it's 10 a.m. and so we've still got some shade here. Now, I think the roses definitely, it's 10 a.m. and we've still got some shade down here in the east end of the rose garden. The sprinkler system went off last night, and it's really clear to me what's getting water and what's not getting water. And so you can see here that these roses are getting water, but Princess Alexandra of Kent is not really getting anything. So one of the concerns I had was, did I replant Princess Alexandra with her graft union a little bit too high? So maybe do I need to add some more soil there? But I'll definitely be careful to check the water. I'll check the moisture meter on her. And I've got this Verbena bonariensis that I got from Canadian Tire. I might stick that there. I might actually put it in the front. I'm not sure. But Princess Alexandra of Kent is still recovering from her move. We don't have any blooms. Gertrude Jekyll is consistently showing some new growth, which we're happy about. And Golden Celebration here is actually looking awesome. I feel so happy about Golden Celebrations. She's setting up, and she's going to have another flush of blooms for us. And she's looking really healthy. And good old Marilyn Monroe, who's super reliable, and her blooms are so pretty. Ow. That's Marilyn Monroe for you. Classic beauty. She's looking good. And all of these columnar holly trees are doing okay. I'm hoping to maybe get the second part put on this when Scott gets back from climbing. And here's the Pope. So Pope John Paul was, I've checked all week in terms of the moisture meter to make sure that the Pope was getting enough moisture, and I've had to water a couple of times, and I think everything has recovered now, because there was some crispy leaves on Pope John Paul and I kind of trimmed those off, but these leaves look like they've recovered, and this is all the new growth that I had cut down accidentally, and so we're hoping this is gonna kind of regrow and re-get the shape. I've got a wire in here kind of holding these branches up. These are the blooms that were there before I did the move. And here's Claire Austin, from being jostled about, is looking very good, and it's got some new growth and does not have any blooms set to come just yet. But she was another one that I thought I maybe planted a bit too tall, too high up. So I added some more soil around there. I put these boards that I found in our rafters of our garage just along the fence, because I was hoping that maybe that would protect the fence a little bit in case I need to put more soil in the beds. William P.J. McCarthy is so great. I did a bunch of deadheading this week, and so William P.J. is looking really, really good. So pretty. We've got a little bit of black spot on everybody, I think, just because of the humidity. Strike It Rich right now is bloomless, but is budding up. And we've got some super, super pretty buds coming up here. Look at that. This is just going to be full of blooms soon. So the ones that I deadheaded, I've kind of reestablished this new height, but I'll let those ones bloom. Now you can see here too how the sprinkler system is so erratic. And so we've got Claire Austin, William PJ, not quite to Strike It Rich maybe, but it's completely missing Zephyrin drew in, and Secret's out. Now these guys, I recently, last night I sprayed them with sulfur because they were really getting a lot of powdery mildew on them. So I used that sulfur powder and sprayed them up. And I've been cutting a lot of leaves off Zephyrin drew in. So hopefully, it seems like Zephyrin drew in is kind of like the powdery mildew source, and then it was these leaves were getting kind of powdery mildewed, so that's why I sprayed this side with sulfur. We've got some new growth on Secret's out, so maybe she'll continue on. Very pretty blooms on Westerland here. Westerland has such a vibrant, fluffy bloom, and in the light it just looks like neon orange and pink. It's so pretty. But also, I feel like Westerland, so you can see the sprinkler head over here is getting, it's getting Queen Mary too, but is it getting all the way to Westerland? It's so erratic. And then we've got Love's Promise. So Love's Promise currently has one bloom. Beautiful. But all the other blooms were deadheaded, and I took it down to kind of about a 3-foot height here. It's a bit more manageable, I think. And Queen Mary 2 looks absolutely amazing. Just absolutely covered in white blooms. So pretty. Now, sterling silver is also suffering from the proximity to Zephyrin, because sterling silver has a lot of powdery mildew now, which is not unusual because last year sterling silver really suffered with powdery mildew, and I think is just a little bit susceptible. And then Zephyrin, of course, we know is susceptible to powdery mildew. So again, they're all covered in sulfur. But look at these crazy canes that are already, like Zephyrin's been planted for what, 3 weeks? Not even 3 weeks, yeah. And these canes are already almost reaching up to the second wire. So that's so crazy. It's, and it's so, I love that it's completely thornless. Here we have Secret. Secret is like, oh my gosh, look at that. So beautiful. And this bloom is maybe 2 weeks old. Look at these, and this is what Secret looks like with a nice, beautiful bud opening. I did spray a little bit of sulfur on this side of things just because of, like I said, the proximity to Zephyrin drew in. But Secret is doing great. And Fragrant Cloud, after all those blooms, like Fragrant Cloud was just covered in blooms last week, but everything was spent, and so took her down to the to the 5th leaflet, which was quite a ways down, but you know, Fragrant Cloud's doing great, and it's got lots of new growth. Sweet Mademoiselle. So these guys are all getting well watered. I think these guys are getting watered here. And Sweet Mademoiselle, I was also getting a bit of powdery mildew, and so she got a bit of sulfur as well. She's got a bit of black spot on her. I'm not fussing as much as what I used to, but so she's gonna put up some blooms, but she had a nice bloom last week. And hopefully we'll see some more of those. I'm gonna start trying to train these a little bit to the side, but I think we need to get a bit more height before I'm gonna be able to get her on the obelisk completely. Moving over to Ebb Tide. I did do some deadheading on Ebb Tide yesterday, but just look at Ebb Tide. This is just so remarkable. The color, Just like nothing else in the garden. Look at this beautiful, perfect bloom. So, so beautiful. Very happy with how ebb tide is looking. And who's that there? Hello, little one. Are you just enjoying the roses too? And then here we have Eustacia Vi, looking great. Eustacia's gotten quite tall and is setting up all these blooms on the top. I did some deadheading again yesterday. I'm going to start cutting back some of these petunias today too. And the second Eustacia Vi, or formerly known as Eustacia Vi number 1, I think I didn't do a very good job planting her. So what I might do is I'm going to, dig a better hole, put some alfalfa, and resituate her because I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to redo that. And then we've got Rosanna, and Rosanna is so shiny. Like, I just cannot even show. Can I show how shiny this new growth is? It's absolutely looks like it's covered in lacquer. Again, black spot, I'm not stressing about, but these blooms on Rosanna. Even the older blooms are just absolutely so beautiful. Now, this is a chair. I actually found it at the dump. So I'm going to give it a try for a while. Look at these Rosannas, so pretty. I've moved everybody, all the pergola roses, I moved their signs up here because I couldn't see them. So here's Eustacia Vi number 1. And you see how the graft union is, I just think it's too high, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's looking pretty bad. So I'm going to redo it and try harder, I guess, this time. And here we have Crown Princess Margareta, who is a race to the top here. So I might undo some of these ties and make sure that everything's making sense with the directionality of these canes. But she's got a wet bloom here. Still looks so pretty. Here we have Beverly Ann Clay, our newcomer. She had a bloom. It was a bit kind of a raggedy bloom, but she already had a nice bloom. And so Abigail was over yesterday and she was just like, oh my God, you cut this back so much. So I don't know, maybe I did the wrong thing there, but I just thought maybe that would be her best chance. And I just noticed that this tree here has tons of powdery mildew. Is that giving a problem to my roses? I'm gonna have to look that up. And here's Laguna. Laguna is heavily draped, and she's clearly getting watered because she's completely dripping. So I think it's because there's a lawn sprinkler head back there. Here is Eden. Eden Climber White. And Eden has a beautiful bloom here to show us today. Oh, look at, there's a ladybug. Great. It's one of the first ladybugs I've seen in a long time. And here we have Royal City, who's just buzzing with bees. Such a great performer, Royal City. And really getting so nice and tall here. Harlow Carr, I feel, has fully recovered. Obviously hasn't regained height, but it's got lots of new growth and leaves look nice and happy. So Harlow Carr is going to be here for a little while. Golden Opportunity is so stunning. Golden Opportunity, so new blooms are kind of this golden orangey yellow, fade to a pale peach, and then fade further into this beautiful almost ballet pink before they fall off, and they have kind of a pink edge to them. So this kind of pinky edge to the blooms. See all the bees in the lavender. This is lavender that I haven't cut back. And Golden Opportunity is putting on some good height. I was really hoping Gemini would have a bloom for us this week, and I feel like we're just days away with this one. But look at Gemini for how small she was and how slow she was. I think we're getting there, I'm happy to say. And Dylan has thrown up these nice tall new canes, and we're gonna have a whole new flush of blooms across here. And Dylan, of course, is our beautiful baby rose. Just such pretty blooms. And Iceberg, who holds onto her blooms for such a nice long time, is again such nice open blooms, but they don't fall off. And we're seeing some new growth coming from the base here, which is excellent. So happy with how everybody's looking. Like I said. So just a reminder of what we use. So we use this organic fish bloom plant fertilizer that I get from Evolve in Stonewall, Manitoba. And it is 10 mils per 1 liter. So I put 80 mils in my 8-liter watering can, and I do every plant with that. Do you like that? I think you can use fish fertilizer as a foliar feed too. That's why I spray it all over. So I'm looking at Eustacia vine number 2, who's done so incredibly well this season, and I'm just looking at her graft union. The graft union is, below the level of the soil. And then Eustacia vine number 1, who's not doing as well, is way above. So, and here's her graft union up here. And I guess I had only planted her down to here. So I really need to make sure that this graft union is 2 inches below the soil, or at least at the soil. And I had only done this to here. So I've dug a new hole here and put some alfalfa and some water. Here is the new planting of Eustacia vine. So I've really sunk the graft union down. And I don't know why I wasn't thinking about this when I replanted all the roses last weekend, checking everybody's graft union, and I'm like, oh my God, sterling silver, Zephyrin Druin, like her graft union is too high. Claire Austin graft union is too high, especially Gertrude Jekyll graft union way too high. I think I'm just gonna re-dig everybody down and plant everybody a bit deeper. So like I said, this is really what happens when you're a beginner rose and a gardener. Is always making little mistakes, but hey, it's trust the process, right? I'm happy to be outside. It's beautifully and sunny, and enjoying listening to music and podcasts, and it's good times. Today's unplanned activity, being sinking these roses a bit deeper into the soil, has allowed me to see here. So this is Claire Austin. But one thing I'm noticing is that when these roses are getting watered, the water's not getting all the way to their roots. The water is going down, and the sprinkler system went on last night, and Claire does get watered. So it's only going down about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and all of these roots down here are not getting water. So I think I need to decide if I need to change the settings on the sprinkler and leave it on for longer, not as many times per week. Okay, so it's about 4 p.m, and I've resituated all the roses, and not all the roses. I had just maybe about 5 that I felt were too high, so I kind of dug the soil out underneath without disturbing the roots too much. Scott got back from climbing, and so he is adding the extra height to our barrier wall to hide the garbage cans, and I think we do have a little bit of time, so I think I will make a lavender wreath with the lavender that I trimmed. And also, when I was going through and replanting all the roses, I did a chop of all the annuals and reblooming perennials, so we can get another flush of flowers before the end of the season. Can you give a thumbs up, Scott? Say hi. So I've set up our lavender wreath making studio here, and I've got, this is some other lavender that I cut today, but there's the lavender that I cut last week. I packed each little lavender into about 20 little lavender sprigs per. And so what you do is you start with this floral wire, and you just find a place on your wreath and tie it on. You can see that I've used this wreath frame before for something else. I used it for a Christmas wreath, and that's the nice thing about these wire wreaths, is you can use them again and again. You can just place these lavender sprigs and then just do one after another. Got most of my lavender sprigs on here, and I'm getting to near the end. You should not break this wire till the very end. It has to be one unbroken line of wire, just otherwise it'll get all loose. So you gotta stay with the same wire. This is the same when you're doing it with greenery at Christmas. You want to make sure you have enough wire on your spool here so that you don't run out halfway through. So it's a bit tricky when you're kind of trying to get into the very end of it, but you just have to keep tucking them in until it's an unbroken wreath. And then you can always add things like ribbons or, other greenery or other things. It makes a huge difference to have zip tied these lavender posies together, because otherwise, if you were just doing this with straight lavender loose, it would be nearly impossible to do. It would be an absolute nightmare. I actually sprayed this lavender with a bit of Crowning Glory, which is a floral preservative. Not so much obviously for the fragrance necessarily, because it's still very fragrant, but just to try to preserve as much color as I could possibly preserve, because lavender fades really quickly in color, I think. Get this around. There's a reason you use green wire, obviously, which is to try to hide everything. And then just tighten it up, and then you can take a long piece off, or you can usually cut this kind of wire just with scissors, but you want to go on the back and thread it through and in some way. You can see we've got kind of a loop made. So if we want to hang it on the wall or if we want to hang it anywhere else. Oh my gosh, look at all this lavender. I think I've got enough to make a sachet. So what I'm going to do here, so this is kind of like mangled here where I tied it off. So I'm going to add there. I can cover it just with the single. Yeah, I'm not sure how much this Crowning Glory actually worked, but in my mind it was a good idea at the time. Here's the completed lavender wreath. Looks very pretty. Hi, Baxter. Hi there. Just before I sign off, I'm going to take you on a tour of the garden again, just to show you what I've amended. I did add 10 bags of black earth soil from Canadian Tire to the garden bed, and yeah, let me show you what it looks like. So iceberg, I added some more soil just because the graft union was a bit high. Didn't have to do much to Dylan because I had planted her correctly. And you can see that I've chopped all of the salvia and nepeta. And I haven't done much to this artemisia, which still appears to be struggling with its fungus. And Gemini, I had planted correctly, Royal City, Eden, all those guys, but I did add a bunch more soil into this area. Chopped the tops off the petunias. I added more soil in here, and I put one of the stepping stones that I had left over in this area and added a bit more soil around here. Fragrant Cloud and Secret did have a bit of a high graft union, so I moved those. I ended up putting the Verbena bonariensis, and actually just popped them in here because I think they look pretty neat right beside the yellow evergreen tree. So I did dig down and just situate Zephyrin a little bit lower. Sterling Silver, I just added a bit more soil to. Added a bit more soil actually to Westerland, and because again, the graft union was a bit high, I think. And not that any of those guys have been suffering actually, but Zephyrin drew in back there. I dug down, and the big one that I dug down was Claire Austin. And you can hear Scott drilling and putting the finishing touches on our fence, our privacy fence, which is going to look much, much better than the garbage pails did. And Golden Celebration was okay. And I resituated Gertrude Jekyll and Princess Alexandra of Kent. So, wow, I think that looks so excellent there. Now, this corner, really happy with how that's turned out. I think it makes this bed actually look much more sophisticated, and I really do hope that those little trees, those evergreens, will get taller. So that's it for July 12th in the Rose Garden. I hope everybody has a great week.